The story begins with a young boy named Rio, who wakes up in a mysterious place. There, he meets a being that looks like an angel, who introduces himself as Michael. He tells Rio that he died in a truck accident, but not to worry, because he is going to be reincarnated in another world. And in this life, he is free to live however he wants. Rio says he just wants a peaceful life. Michael then explains that he will be reborn in a new world called Phi, a world full of magic, where people can use spells connected to their natural elements, and that Rio is most compatible with water magic. Since Rio wants an easy life, Michael says he will be reincarnated in the forest of Rondo. There, he will have a house protected by a barrier that keeps monsters away. Rio also receives a starter pack with a fully stocked fridge that will last for 2 months, so he does not have to hunt for food. He is also given a monster guidebook that describes the creatures living in the forest. Michael adds that there are no rules or secret tricks, and Rio is free to live a peaceful life if he wants. At first, this seems true. Rio has food and a safe home, so he spends many days, maybe even weeks, learning how to use his powers without danger. When he imagines water, it flows from his hands, solving the water problem. But then he starts thinking about fire. He tries to make fire by rubbing pieces of wood together, but he cannot. One day, while looking at the sun, he gets an idea. He decides to make ice and shape it like a round lens, so sunlight can be focused to start a fire. He imagines the water molecules changing in his mind, and it works. He creates real ice, shapes it into a lens, and uses sunlight to start a fire. With this, the fire problem is solved. Now he has just one issue left. He must be ready to face monsters. He first tries to attack with water magic, but it feels too soft, almost like a toy, and would not help in a real fight. He realizes that ice magic could be stronger, so he tries to create sharp ice spears. However, the spears do not work properly, and he cannot control them well. Rio understands that he needs much more training, so he spends many days practicing magic and reading the guidebook to learn about monsters. Later, when he feels more prepared, he leaves his house to search for food. While exploring, he finds quartz stones that can help start fires. But suddenly, something goes wrong, and he comes face to face with a demon boar. According to the guidebook, the demon boar is considered a weak monster. However, when Rio sees it in real life, he becomes very afraid and freezes. Somehow, he survives the first attack. When the boar charges again, Rio quickly gathers his courage and uses his ice magic with great effort. This time, he manages to defeat the monster. That night, he reads more from the guidebook and stops at the last 2 pages. The second to last page discusses dragons, creatures powerful enough to destroy entire cities with a single attack, and says no one can escape them. And the last page is about demons, but there is only one line written about them that people should pray they never meet one. After reading this, Rio becomes even more alert and cautious about the dangers of this world. In the next few days, he keeps searching for food. Then he meets another powerful monster. It is an assassin hawk. The guidebook says this bird is much stronger than the demon boar and moves very fast, like the wind. Rio sees that he cannot run away and must face it. This time, he stays calm and creates an ice shield. The hawk crashes into the shield and loses one eye. Hurt, and realizing that Rio is not easy to defeat, the hawk flies away. Time passes, and Rio keeps fighting monsters, so his magic becomes much stronger. He even learns a new spell called Water Cutter, which can slice even rocks. Near a lake, he meets a strange knight called a Dullahan. This warrior has no head, and the guidebook does not mention it. It is stronger than any monster Rio has seen, and he knows he cannot win. The Dullahan defeats him, but does not kill him, and it feels like the knight wants to help him. After that, Rio starts going to the lake every night to train with the Dullahan. One day, the Dullahan gives him a gift, a sword made from water. The blade looks like flowing water, but it is stronger and sharper than a real sword. After some days, Rio meets the same assassin hawk again, but this time the hawk has evolved and become more dangerous. It attacks first, and its new power stops Rio's magic. Now, magic does not work, so Rio fights with his sword. The water sword helps him, and because the hawk does not expect this, Rio takes the chance to defeat it in one move. On his way back, a giant dragon appears. Its name is Lewin, and it speaks through thoughts. The dragon says it is looking for the assassin hawk. Rio feels scared but tells the truth, and his honesty surprises the dragon, so it forgives him. Then the dragon notices the sword and recognizes it. Lewin explains that the blade was made by the Fairy King, which means someone very powerful is already helping Rio. They keep talking for a long time, while Rio asks many questions about this world. Almost a full day passes before Lewin hears a call from its clan and leaves. From far away, Michael watches everything and realizes something rare. Rio has a hidden gift called Eternal Youth, a power Michael has not seen since he last sent someone to this world, almost 1,000 years ago. One early morning, Rio goes to the seashore to collect seafood. During this quiet trip, he notices a broken ship near the coast. When he walks closer, he sees a man lying beside the wreck. Rio checks his pulse and realizes the man is already dead. Then he looks around and finds another man on the other side of the wreck. This one is still alive, and his name is Abel. Abel and several others were sailing on that boat when a sudden thunderstorm appeared. In the middle of the storm, a giant titan octopus attacked the ship. The boat split in two, and everyone fell into the sea. Luckily, the accident happened close to land, so the waves carried them to the shore. Since Abel is unconscious, Rio carries him home. After some time, Abel wakes up and looks around in confusion. He walks outside and is surprised by what he sees. There is a flower garden and a neat stone path leading into the forest. Soon, Rio returns and feels relieved to see that Abel is awake and safe. Before Rio arrived, Abel did not sense anyone nearby, so he wonders if Rio has a special ability to sense his surroundings. Plus, his worn-out appearance makes Abel even more curious. Abel wants to ask Rio about clothes, but stops himself, not wanting to be rude during their first meeting. Instead, he politely introduces himself and thanks Rio, believing that Rio saved his life. Rio calmly replies that there is no need to thank him because he only brought Abel back to the house. Tells him everyone else from the boat is dead. Abel does not react with much emotion because everyone on that boat was a smuggler. Before he can explain more, his stomach suddenly growls with hunger. Rio suggests that they continue their conversation during lunch. Abel finally asks Rio about clothes, and Rio explains simply that he does not have thread or cloth to make any. Abel suggests that he could buy clothes in a nearby town, but then he suddenly stops. It occurs to him that Rio probably has no money and might be living like an exiled holy man. In truth, Abel knows nothing about this place. He only assumes there must be towns somewhere nearby. Rio calmly explains the reality. There are no towns close to this area, which is why he lives alone like this. Abel then asks how Rio manages to find food and other useful things. Rio simply answers that he uses water magic. This surprises Abel. From what he knows, only about half the people in the central province can use magic at all. Hearing this makes Rio feel a little disappointed, though he believed his ability was rare. Still, Abel wants to confirm something. He asks Rio to take him back to the shipwreck. When they reach the shore, the place looks different. The bodies are gone. Rio guesses that the sea may have carried them away, or perhaps monsters took them. This makes Abel realize something important. If Rio had not saved him, he would likely have died as well. Feeling grateful, Abel tells Rio that even though they just met, he already considers him a true friend. Abel searches through the broken ship, but cannot find what he was looking for. Because of this, he changes his plan. He decides to head for the town of Loon, which he believes lies to the north. Since he does not know the way, he invites Rio to travel with him as a guide. Rio admits that he does not really know the road either, but he still agrees to help. He suggests they start the journey the next morning, so he can prepare first. Abel agrees, and the two confirm their plan with a handshake. Still, Abel cannot help noticing Rio's rough clothes and the lack of magical tools that a proper mage would normally carry. These details make him think Rio might be living in hiding because of poverty. With that thought in mind, Abel decides not to ask any more questions. Later, without telling Abel, Rio goes back to see the Dullahan. He wants to say goodbye and have one last training match. The knight accepts, and they fight again just as they have many times before. Rio gives everything he has, but the result remains the same. He still cannot defeat the Dullahan. But this time, something strange happens. After the fight, the Dullahan gives Rio a white robe. The next morning, Rio and Abel begin their journey north. The forest seems endless, and monsters appear often along the way. Abel handles them with skill, proving he has fought many battles before. Yet Rio becomes the one who stands out the most, and his unusual way of using water magic keeps surprising Abel again and again. Water mages are usually weak in combat, but Rio fights differently. His techniques are strange and effective, and they make Abel more curious with every step as they move deeper through the forest and toward the mountains in the north. Rio and Abel discuss the danger of meeting wyverns again. Rio does not mind facing them, but Abel would rather avoid that risk. Still, he is thankful for their earlier battle, because they now carry a bag full of magic stones that can be sold for good money. Soon, they notice a narrow road in the distance. Abel tells Rio that if they go east, they will reach a town. Rio is happy to hear that and says he has been craving a soft bed lately. Abel is surprised by this because he thought Rio was the type who cared only about fighting. When they arrive, they go into a small restaurant. There, Abel explains the adventurer guilds to Rio and suggests he join one. He says the guild card serves as an ID and lets members enter towns across the nation without paying gate fees. Rio likes the idea, especially since Abel had to pay a silver coin to get him in. Abel also explains that guild members can trade monster parts and magic stones, though someone needs to become an alchemist to make full use of them. Hearing this excites Rio, and his love of chemistry leads him to alchemy. Soon, their food arrives. It is curry and rice. Rio is surprised to see such a familiar dish. He remembers how anime characters often struggle to recreate food from their old world. But here, something like curry already exists. To him, that feels like a blessing. He enjoys every bite and keeps asking for more, eating with great excitement. The next morning, Rio is still talking about how good the curry was. Abel watches him and begins to wonder whether Rio has ever eaten proper food. Since Abel never mentioned curry earlier, Rio jokes that Abel might be hiding more surprises. The comment catches Abel off guard and suggests he may be hiding something. After leaving the town, they walk through wide meadows and farmland until they reach the entrance of Loon. At the gate, a guard recognizes Abel and looks shocked. News had spread that Abel was missing. Abel does not explain much and simply says that Rio saved him. The guard immediately thanks Rio and shakes his hand with excitement. Since Rio is not yet a registered adventurer, he has to pay an entry fee. Once again, Abel pays the silver coin without hesitation. The guard warmly welcomes Abel back and asks what he plans to do next. Watching this friendly exchange, Rio realizes that Abel is well known and respected in this town. They head straight to the Adventurers Guild. On the way, Abel explains that new adventurers usually start at rank F. However, because he trusts Rio's ability, he plans to recommend him. With that recommendation, Rio might start at rank E, or even D. The system is simple. The higher the rank, the harder the quests. Still, Abel believes Rio may not need quests right away. They are carrying many magic stones, and if they sell them, Rio could become rich. Selling all of them at once might even disturb the market, so Abel decides they should first speak with the guild master and handle it properly. When they enter the guild, many people are shocked and happy to see Abel alive. Rio quietly watches the scene and smiles, surprised that his friend is so well known. To avoid crowding the room, he steps outside. While walking around, he meets an elf girl who seems curious about his clothes. She says they look like something worn by the Fairy King. Rio feels confused because he has no idea who that is. The girl does not explain and says she is in a hurry. Before leaving, she says she hopes to see him again. Soon, Abel finds Rio and brings him back inside the guild hall. He introduces Rio to everyone as the man who saved his life. The adventurers thank Rio warmly before returning to their work. After that, Abel takes Rio to the receptionist to begin the registration process. He recommends Rio for D rank, which surprises her. She explains that it is rare for someone from the Crimson Sword Party to recommend another person. Even so, she approves the request, though Rio must first pass a physical assessment. They then go to a meeting room where the guild master, Hugh, rushes in after hearing that Abel has returned. He is shocked that Abel survived the mountains. Abel uses this to support his recommendation for Rio's rank. Hugh agrees, saying no weak person could survive such a journey. Before the discussion ends, Abel's party members, Lynn, Riha, and Warren, rush into the room. When Lynn sees Abel alive, she breaks down in tears. Abel apologizes for worrying them and explains that Rio saved his life. Hugh sees that Abel and his party have a lot to talk about, so he decides to give them some space. Meanwhile, he asks the receptionist, Nina, to continue his registration instead. Before leaving, Hugh tells Rio that Abel's party is the strongest group in town and that everyone had been worried about Abel. He adds that if Rio truly saved Abel, then he must be strong himself. Because of that, he approves Rio's D rank status and leaves the rest of the paperwork to Nina. Nina asks Rio about his skills and suggests he join a dungeon training class. Rio agrees. She also explains the city's calendar and time system, which Rio finds surprisingly similar to Earth's. Finally, She offers him a room in the guild lodge for the next 300 days. After completing the registration, Rio meets Abel again. Together they sell some magic stones, and then go shopping for clothes and a staff. Abel wants Rio to use a staff like a proper magician, but Rio says that he prefers to fight with his sword, and Abel finds that unusual. During their conversation, Rio notices many similarities between this world and Earth. This makes him wonder if someone from Earth came here long ago and changed things. Later, Abel takes him to a welcome party where they eat and drink all night. The next morning, tired and slightly hungover, Rio walks with Nina to the guild lodge. There she introduces him to his roommates, Nils and Ito, and later Amon, a young girl who lost her parents and hopes to become an adventurer. Meanwhile, Abel talks with his party about Rio and his powerful ice magic. They find it hard to believe. Abel insists that he saw it himself.
And that is it for today. If you enjoyed this recap, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and feel free to write whatever you want in the comments section. Thank you for watching.